Welcome to Cavan TV, and you're tuned into Forum Views with myself, Daniel Downey, and
me, Kate Ennals.
And if you want to hear anything on the show, folks, or get in contact with us, get in touch with cavantv.com or drumlinmedia@gmail.com. So, Kate, we have a forum-filled show this week, don't we?
Yeah, our members, our guests are from the Community Forum. We have one of the longest serving, if that's what you call it, member, Madeleine, and our newest serving member, Bernard. So maybe, Madeleine, would you like to introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about what you do in Cavan?
Right. I'm Madeleine Mhealoid. I serve on the Community Forum representing St Killian's Heritage Trust and Mulla that runs the Heritage Centre there, and I represent the Society of St Vincent de Paul. I do a lot of work on the policy side, social policy for Vincent de Paul, as well as working in my own community and my own conference.
Yeah, you have a lot of experience, Madeleine, working in the community, working directly with people who are coming to SVP, don't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was a primary teacher, so I have seen the need for support for disadvantaged people,
And you saw
very
that from the
strongly.
school, from teaching
Of
in
course,
school.
yes. So it led naturally to starting up a conference of St Vincent de Paul,
Very good.
and I have worked then on the national level. I represent them on some of the national committees.
Yeah. Well,
Excellent.
Invaluable you are to the forum, Madeleine.
Definitely.
Bernard.
Our newest member.
sure.
Well, definitely
Yes.
not the youngest, anyway.
Most handsome, dear.
I've been with the forum for how long now? Is it about 3 months, 4 months? When did I
The
join?
forum.
Officially?
Yeah.
Only since last Tuesday.
That's Tuesday.
Well, so, oh, really? It felt that long.
You've been so busy.
But I represent CRC, or the Community Resilience Cavan, and I also represent the Irish Angus Development Affiliation, which is a national body. In between all that, I try to do some river keeping as well. Man of many caps. I think one of them, and most hotly contested, would be Town Fool.
What?
The Town Fool.
The town.
Every town has
Not
one.
at all.
So I understand you're both town fool and river sheriff. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
It goes very nicely hand in hand, it does, yeah.
Okay. And what does that entail, a river sheriff?
Oh,
Patrolling the
badge?
river?
yes.
Do you have a badge?
No, but I wish I did. Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh,
Nice big shiny sheriff badge. Over
Yeah, no, we definitely have to get you one of those.
We have to get you a badge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Look, what we do is we patrol the river, and we just make sure that people aren't poaching. We look for pollution, report these things, and when people report pollution to us, we would take it then the next stage on.
Very good.
So we try to work
With the
hand
fisheries.
hand in glove with fisheries. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent.
So.
Well, we have two guests who have very rich experience in the community, so hopefully we'll have some great reflections on today's news.
So, shall we begin?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're kicking off with the
Irish
traditional Irish
spuds.
spud.
Well, it came from South America, came to Ireland, and now we're exporting it to Malawi, apparently.
Yeah, it's
So-
we're teaching them how to
Grow potato.
to grow the potato, how to get the seeds from the last year's crop, and what to check.
But
for
these
in terms
potatoes,
of light.
these potatoes have been in Malawi from, I think it's the 1800s, was it, around there?
Okay.
Brought over by some missionaries. And well, look, Malawi is not Ireland, and
No.
you're trying to grow an Irish potato in a country that is not as wet. It doesn't have the same soil,
No.
so needlessly, it's going to degrade.
Yeah.
So what they're doing now is they're bringing a new batch of potatoes over to Malawi, and teaching the farmers how to actually use the better potatoes for seed. Because the big problem over there is that it's a great potato, I must sell it.
Yeah. Well, how about eating it?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously eating as well. But so the problem is that they're selling the good potatoes instead of actually using them as seed.
Mhm.
So basically, what happens is the crop degenerates.
Yeah.
You know?
No, well, the article says that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's actually showing
Yes.
seeds.
That was one of the things that happened in famine times here,
Ah.
is that they needed the potatoes and they ate the seed.
Yes.
Oh, I
yes.
So
see.
they had no
Okay.
seed for the following year.
Okay. Tell me something, since we know so much about potatoes. When you grow a potato, you get seed potatoes,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
But I don't do that. I just stick the potato that have been growing in my press they get
You know what, I do
roots, and
exactly
just
the
stick
same
those
thing.
in the ground. Why can't you just do that?
Well, I'd say the quality of the potato would be different, wouldn't it?
Well, my father, who grew his own potatoes in the garden, would have kept seed from year to year, and I see him splitting the seed. Where you would have several growths out of the potato.
I see. So he
And
actually took them off.
They're called the
he
chits.
would split the potato. Oh no, you put in the part
I
of
see.
the potato.
Okay.
He might split it in two.
Right.
Or if
Okay.
it was a big one, split it in three.
So those packs of seed potatoes that look like proper potatoes are pointless then. That people grow.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say
I'd
pointless,
say
no.
they're treated to.
They're treated.
They're
okay.
treated to grow more
Right.
regularly.
Okay.
But I think from a self-sustaining point of view, the little potato that you take out the press would be fine. But
Yeah.
in the case of Malawi, where these guys are actually trying to produce a potato as a
As a
product
crop.
to sell,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need the
Yeah.
better potato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in this particular case, this fellow was saying that he used to produce 17 tons, and he's now gone
Right.
up to 20 ton production.
Yeah,
Incredible.
and they're actually beginning to educate.
And the
kids
proceeds
with
from their
the
sales goes
proceeds,
to,
yeah.
to educate the children, which is
So-
fantastic, yes.
It's
Well,
a great development.
It's
Fantastic.
nice to see the potato doing so well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of, we were talking about the famine there a moment ago. We're talking about the gathering, welcoming back some of that diaspora who left our shores.
Yeah.
This specific article is about the gathering in relation to Cavan itself, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Did anyone go to the public meeting on Wednesday?
No, I didn't.
I haven't. No.
I did. I
Yes.
did, and it was really good actually. Cavan TV were there as well, and that'll be, I think, up on the internet soon. I think. But yeah, no, it was really good. There was about 200 people there, I'd say, and they organised it into tables where we all had to sit down and just discuss the ideas that we thought it would be good to bring people back for. So we all had great crack, and we were talking about, one of the ideas was a treetop trail through Killikeen. I saw this in France once, where you actually have harnesses, steel
A
harnesses,
zip line, then, is it?
and you zoom from tree to tree, That would be fabulous, wouldn't it? Anyway, and then the development of Killikeen generally, and to promote sailing on our lakes. There's no sailing. Friends of mine from Dublin who sail all the time, they can't believe how there's no sailing on Loch Gown or Loch Uta or anything like that. Anyway, the other thing was the singing contest. The Cavan, apparently there used to be an international singing contest.
Yes,
Madeleine?
there was. Yes.
Yeah, song contest,
Yes.
that's right.
Cavan
there,
Song Contest,
there was a
yes.
proposal to resurrect that.
When did that go into decline, or was there a particular reason why it?
Must be 10 years ago.
Yeah. It's sad, isn't it?
You see, sponsorship again.
yeah.
Maybe the company went out of business
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
I forget now, but there was definitely a
Yeah.
Cavan Song Contest.
Yeah.
I hear the Cavan Rugby Choir is
Oh, they're fantastic.
Fantastic,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
saw them at the
Yeah.
Belturbet summer day. It was beautiful,
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. I mean, we do have a lot of rich talent. Something
And
that.
and
actually, I
the-
wonder how they compare to the Welsh.
Yeah.
What the Wales
Oh,
men's
the-
choir
Yes,
is
we
it? That's-
can
is
have
that
them
it?
in Mulla.
We can
Oh, we've
have,
had them actually, have we?
We've had them in Mulla,
Oh,
yes.
brilliant.
Yes.
And we've had them on Cavan TV as
Yeah.
well. I think.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Also, the other idea that I really liked was that we should reenact the 1947 GAA match that was played in New York and invite Kerry up to play Cavan, and then invite all the New Yorkers along. But so there were some really good ideas. So the idea behind this gathering, I think we've mentioned it before, is to try and do whatever we're doing anyway, so like the Paddy's Day parade or whatever, but try and find some new events and just tag everything with a gathering and to invite people back. They're aiming to get
But I think one particular
375,000.
niche in Cavan that hasn't been touched is heritage, and it's something which Cavan is rich for, but it hasn't really been. You don't see a huge amount of heritage signposting or signage around. Like when you walk around Cavan town, it's rich with history, but yet there's very few signages to tell you about the history which happened right under your feet.
Well, you should have been there, Daniel, shouldn't you, to come up with your ideas?
I will have to be there. Yeah.
Anyway.
I think another lovely idea would be to send invitations. You know, many countries actually have Irish clubs.
Yeah, they do.
You know, I mean, let's face it, Irish and Ireland is everywhere. You know, we're international, really. And I know in South Africa we have an Irish club.
Yeah.
And to send out invitations to these various clubs to come over and
Yeah.
join the crack.
That's the whole point. This is
Yeah.
what this is about. But what we're trying to do is try and get events to send them invitations for. So specific events, like another one was a gathering of the O'Reillys, you know.
I'm just thinking, okay, you know, if anybody has an idea, is there any place that we can actually send these ideas to? I mean,
yeah,
like,
there
can we
is
phone someone or
yeah,
text
yeah,
someone? Or?
Paddy Connaughton.
Yeah.
Paddy Connaughton at the County Council. Haven't got his number to hand, but yeah,
It's on the
any
County
ideas
Council
like
website.
that, it'll be on the website. Yeah. So any ideas like that. There is a steering group. I think the council are going to push this. You know, like they've been pushing the flower and very supportive of the flower.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think
Definitely.
the dynamic that has worked for the last 2 years and
Yeah.
for this year for the
Yeah.
FLA,
Yeah.
you know, will give it momentum.
Yeah.
Well,
You know, they have, you know, what Cavan does, it does very well.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
are the best at what
definitely.
we do.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. You know, when we get round to doing it.
Yeah.
When we do, but the momentum, as you say, is
Yes,
there.
is
so
there, you
we
know,
have the
so,
energy, we
yes,
have the plans,
yes,
and the
yes.
enthusiasm to do it.
Yeah.
Great.
Definitely.
And to spread it round the county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All around the
Yes.
county. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next story actually is the Mhealoid eco-friendly school was officially opened last week, wasn't it?
It's apparently
Yes.
the most eco-friendly school in the country.
And I'd
Yes,
say it's
yes.
about time.
Yeah.
It's about time that we start making a move in that direction. You know,
It is.
I think there's still a lot of ignorance regarding eco-friendly buildings and such, and I really think that people should start.
Yeah.
How can I say, waking up, you know, to the reality.
It has cost twice as much as another school,
Yeah.
you know, a similar. So, you know, it won't be replicated too often at the moment.
But that's the problem with a lot of sustainable designs is they're so expensive
Yes.
that they're not realistic. As much as we would love to have these things,
But they pay themselves off in,
But
in
they
the
do
future.
pay
but
them
you know.
Virginia
Yeah.
are still, you know, they're having their school in prefabs, while a school down the road is €2
Yes.
million. That's
yeah, Mulla, which is 3 miles up the road, have 19 teachers in a 6-teacher school. It's all prefabs.
Yeah. No, I agree. That is
So, you know, it's going to be a cost effectiveness. Like, where do you put the money?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
But even
it
if they
is-
could, even if
It,
we
it
could
is
use,
great to have it as a
Yeah.
prototype.
as-
Yeah.
even if
You
we
know,
could use
yes.
this as an example of what can be done, because they've got water harvesting devices, they've got the
So-
bio,
a whole lot of
bio.
solar
I was just going to say,
Yes.
look, I mean, there's the
a
height.
range of different sustainable energies being used. So even if we could use it so that people can go and see how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, that school is high tech now, and it's you know, at the higher level of eco-friendly. But there are simpler ways to do it. You know, I mean, there's the Kalman method, and I mean, myself and Daniel have actually done work, volunteered to do some work on these houses, and you have the Kalman method, cob.
There are natural
there's so
old
many.
ways of designing these
Yes,
which are
absolutely.
cost effective
You know.
and sustainable,
Yeah,
Yes.
but they're not being explored because people see it as a way as going backwards.
as going
Yes.
back.
It's not
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
It's
That's right.
recapturing good, valued, traditional methods of building.
Yeah.
I mean,
how-
this is just
Absolutely.
a 4-teacher school.
Yeah. No,
You
I
know,
take
so-
that
Yeah.
point. I
You
really
know,
do take that
Like
point.
where
Yeah.
Virginia School and Mulla School
Yeah.
are crying out
Yeah.
for new schools.
I know it's bizarre, isn't it?
Yes.
How all that gets chosen.
Mhm.
But I'm going to move on because
Well, you see, because it was a small school,
yeah, they didn't think
could
it would.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah.
because it wouldn't. Whereas, you know, to double the cost of a bigger
a-
school.
If
But
it
you
was
wouldn't-
Virginia
it
School doing
wouldn't-
that, it would cost maybe
Yes.
5 to 6
Well,
million.
it probably wouldn't because it's still anyway. It's
Yes.
still the same prototypes.
Yeah.
But I do want to move on because we've got a very sad story now. Daniel, you chose this.
Well,
story.
yeah, because I've seen this swan many times. It's the Virginia swan who's lived at the lakeside for 20 years. And, well...
Did it have a name?
I'm going to break out. So,
Swanee.
Swanee, is it?
It's gone down the Swanee.
Well, you know, every year when the swans hatch out,
Mhm.
we see them in Mulla Lake, and the end of the year, the following spring, they have to get out. The younger ones have to emigrate.
Yeah.
Why?
They were out on the road and they were
Okay.
causing a traffic hazard because
Mhm.
Mulla Lake goes right to the road.
To the road, yeah, it does.
And I rang the wildlife ranger and he said, "This is nature, don't interfere."
Okay.
Mhm.
They have to go to a lake that doesn't have a pair of nesting swans.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And I said, and where can they get one? He said, Loch Derivara
Oh, really?
doesn't have. So maybe if the other one goes, then
Right.
2 new ones can come.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, as it is, the swans are very territorial, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
The males, extremely
yes.
territorial.
So they landed them out.
Yeah.
They had to get rid of them.
And well, of course, you were saying this one. Of course, it's
Mm.
one of a set over there.
Yeah.
And needless to say, I mean, if you read the article, you know that they can live for 50 years.
Mhm.
And of course, they're made for life as well. Which this whole story reminds me of a song from one of our more loved bards, Christy Moore, that sang the song about the swan that was killed and the love between them. And it was a very sad song, and I think it does reflect the situation over here as well. It's a very sad thing.
But it was indicating that people are feeding it.
Yes, as a result. And people do have to take into consideration they do have natural food and a natural food source. I mean, they eat
the weed,
aquatic vegetation. That's what they eat. They weren't born and raised to eat bread, and they have a very hard time eating the stuff as well. I mean, again, as the article said, they have a hard time swallowing the stuff. Okay. And so we have to take that into consideration. I know we all love the idea of feeding the swans and feeding the birds.
Particularly when the place is iced over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
that's
But
We
I
have
don't know,
them
maybe
coming up on the road, actually.
maybe
to be
somebody can
fed.
come up with an idea of swan food.
But what I don't understand is, like in Loch Gowner, we have a whole host of swans. We have loads of swans.
But are they all female, or is it a mix of male? Because
Well, how
remember,
do you
it's the
check?
melse. The males are.
Do you have to go out and have a look?
How do you know?
Kate's going to be caught pulling up the feathers to check. You're going to have a few nasty billy bites.
But it's the male that's protective,
Yeah.
so he'll chase you off.
Yeah, I don't
look
know, but
at
there are
the-
loads, so I don't understand why it's just 2. It's funny, isn't it?
It's a swan hen party. That's what it is.
Daniel seems
Well,
so
we're
silly.
on that note, we're going to go
Duckling.
for a short break, folks, and we'll be back after this.
Pat Short here. You're watching Cavan TV.
Okay, yes, Pat, we are. You're watching Cavan TV, guys. This is Forum Views, and we're discussing local topics, what's been happening during the week, with Madeleine Mhealoid and Bernard Engle. And I might have mispronounced your surname there, Madeleine.
No,
Sorry.
it's fine.
So we're going back to talk about the perennial subject of the weather.
Wet weather has caused crisis for Cavan farmers. Well, look, we were talking about this on the ad rec. I think it's an important story because agriculture is one of our heaviest industries. It's one of the most important things we do in Ireland.
Well, I know, but there must be something else apart from the weather. We mentioned it last week and the week before. In fact, Jerry Brady told us a great joke, which I won't repeat, about the farmers
But when you
whinging.
say weather, Kate, it just sounds like the weather. But for a farmer, it really has a huge impact on his
Well, I know.
livelihood.
Well, I know. All the cattle seem to be back in the sheds.
Mm.
They can't cut their silage, except there was one great story. I think we should have covered that. There's one fella in Cavan who did his silage
Actually
in
got
2
his timing
days
just
last
right.
week, and he's as smug as happy can be.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, well done to you, lad. But the rest of us didn't get it done in the 2 days. So as a result, everyone's
Yes.
in a mess.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, it does
It's
have a
very
huge
difficult.
impact.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
But it seems like most of the farmers are only going to get the one cutting, and if that be the case, it's going to be very, very difficult winter for them.
Yeah.
You know, because now they're going to have to spend a whole lot of money now just to get feed to
Yeah.
the cows.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's-
I agree.
Oh, in some cases, we have another story coming up. It's part of this, but in some cases, they're going to have to go to the cattle mart now and sell cattle to try and
Yeah.
buy
But
feed
Which
for
is-
the
which
winter.
is for the rest.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
Yes.
there we have the story there. Farmers leave soaked silage fields behind for cattle mart. It is a great shame,
Mm.
absolutely.
There's nothing we can do.
No.
Unless we get hair dryers out.
But then actually that leads on to another problem as well, is with the silage.
Yeah,
Because,
it's
yeah.
it's poor food, isn't it?
Mm.
It
The
produces
quality
poor,
of the
yeah,
silage
yeah,
will not
yeah,
be
That's
good.
right,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
yeah. Okay, we're going to move on then. Oh, tragic car accident there on
Monday.
the M3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, it could have been more tragic if anybody died, but fortunately nobody
I know,
died.
Yes.
but 5
yeah.
people in
Yeah.
2 cars, and on a relatively straight bit of road.
Just
know.
around Newlands, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was that bent elbow, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Great
yeah.
name, that, isn't it? The bent elbow. Never heard of
Well, I
it.
suppose if you're going to
Well,
drink, you need to
exactly.
bend
That's
your
Yes.
elbows.
That's why I think it's a great name. It's really clever.
But yeah, I think out of the 5 people, there's one that is critically injured, and I think that, in the end of the day, is actually quite a good news story. The fact
Well, I
that
suppose you're right. But
Yes.
still, you know, the road was cut off. I still don't understand why.
Well, it was strange, a very straight stretch of road, and
Yeah.
between noon and 12:30, which is quite a good
Yes.
time of the day.
Mm.
So
Yes.
very unusual,
Yeah.
highly unusual.
So
yeah.
the guards are looking for witnesses. So if anyone saw anything.
Yeah.
So the next story.
A teen refuses to get out of bed to attend court on July 3rd, and a warrant was issued. I think this story was very interesting from 2 points of view. He's a 14-year-old who was on a sexual assault charge, which is remarkable in itself. But I also
At
found it
14 years
remarkable.
of age.
I know, isn't that awful? And he couldn't be bothered to get out of bed, Madeleine.
But I also found it remarkable that he didn't. You know, I can't envisage someone would have that level of disrespect towards a court that they wouldn't get out of bed. you know.
Oh, well, I can kind of... It's not even disrespect, it's just not really... He's a
Engaging.
teenager. Yeah,
Yes,
he's not
yes,
engaged, he
yes.
doesn't see the importance of it, he doesn't understand.
Yeah,
He's-
as a parent of a teenager, 15-year-old teenager. Vivian, hi. Talking about you. Yeah,
We're not talking about him, are we?
They do seem they do seem to have a very hard time getting out of bed. It's like this magnetic attraction to the bed, you know, or the mattress. I used to know it as mattress fever. I don't know if anybody else knows that. Mattress fever?
No,
No.
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 Oh yes,
No.
no, it's bound to the bed. But if I read this article correctly, apparently this person refused to go out of bed because in protest to his cell, was it?
The conditions in
The
which
conditions
he
in
was,
which he was, yeah.
Mhm.
And so he refused to get out of bed as a form of protest. But,
Do you believe that?
Well, yeah.
I don't know, Madeleine, what do you think? Would this have happened 30 years ago?
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so.
Well, 30 years ago, you wouldn't have a 14-year-old
you
sex
wouldn't have
offender.
No.
wouldn't
You know.
have that level of...
It's the attitude then. What is
Is
it?
it a breakdown of civic duty
It's
in the younger
Or
generation?
Well, I think it's
Yeah.
engagement, really, isn't it?
it's a breakdown, I think,
Mhm.
in the whole
Social fabric.
social fabric of right and wrong.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
You know, do
Well, look, I
people-
think it's a very
you know,
big-
is there any wrong anymore, or
Mhm.
do people all have all the rights
Yeah.
and no duties?
But I mean, look, this can go back
Yeah.
far. I mean, if you had to trace this back to its source, I mean, there's so many places where it can happen. You know, I mean, it can be a dysfunctional family. It could just be a dysfunctional teen.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's so many reasons. It could be bad friends, absolutely anything.
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer that your child is what you teach him or her to be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, and they will learn through example.
Yeah.
And if you're the kind of parent that just whatever, well, you're going to have a child that's going
Yeah.
to have the same attitude.
Yeah.
Of course, these ideas are abstract, not specific to this particular case. But
Yes.
the reason why I chose this particular case was because maybe it is it's a symptom of a social issue.
It
Mm,
is.
mm.
it
I'm
is.
not sure what the particulars are behind it,
Yeah.
but I feel it would be a symptom of a social issue that
Well,
we have
it's-
to deal
yes.
with.
Well, it's something that we see time and time again. In fact, we'll be discussing it later. So
Yes.
let's
Yeah.
move on, because we'll be coming back to that whole discussion around society and culture.
So the next one is 5 out of 24 requests by estates to be taken in charge approved. And this essentially is that 5 estates across the county are to be taken in hand by the local council for maintenance from the developers.
That's a huge thing, because if they take them over, then they're responsible for the lighting, for the roads, for the sewerage, for the maintenance of the water supply. So it's
and for the health and safety of the
all
it's
at
a
cost
huge onus
to the council, a council which is being cut year in year out as well.
Yes,
And
and
which has
so
got-
many estates have been built in Cavan.
And of course the developers pay nothing.
And then so many developers have gone out of business.
Yeah.
Several.
Now, when they say taken over, what exactly do they? I mean,
That's what they mean.
Yes, but I mean, but does that mean that that estate now belongs to the council and that can now be given out as council housing?
No. People
The-
might be living
the
in them.
maintenance
They
of
might
the
have
public
bought the
spaces.
houses.
Okay, so I don't see the benefit of the council taking over that, except
But
for
so that they're not, so that they're made safe. So
Oh,
that
well,
the
from that
people
point of
who
view,
bought
because,
who bought their houses on them, right? The estate's made safe. The grass is cut. The streets are cleaned. The road surfaces are maintained. The street lighting is in place. Okay, so people have to have that.
Well, the council won't take it over until the developer has done all you've talked about, Kate. They have
But
to,
they are taking over.
Yes, but they've taken it over when the developer has brought it to that stage.
Right, so these aren't the ghost estates then?
No.
These
So
are
these are
estates
established
that
as
have
maintenance only.
that have been brought to that standard
Right,
by the developer. And the other estates where it is only being brought to that, the people who own the houses have to pay for all that. They have to pay for their own lighting.
the levies.
They have to pay. They have a company, a management company in the estate, and they have to divvy out between them to pay for the lighting,
Street lighting, and
even the sewerage if there's a problem. You know, road surfaces. It's a huge onus, particularly where some houses are inhabited and some are not.
So that the burden falls on them. Now that is standard practice, you know, like in apartment complexes or whatever.
Yes.
But when you're in rural Ireland and you're actually talking about, you know, street maintenance as well and sewerage maintenance, you wouldn't have that in an apartment block at all.
No.
So it is a problem. And I don't know how the council are going to actually afford it to
take over all the other ones.
No.
Well, what they've done where there are part of ghost estates, they have made them safe. They have got some money from the government and they've put up big fences to make them safe so that children can't damage themselves on them.
Which is especially needed since that accident on Engle.
And that's all they can do at the moment. That's all they can afford to do at the moment.
Okay, moving on then. The big story in Cavan last week was the Project X party.
So apparently there's going to be a second one in Baileyborough.
Are we all? What are you doing tonight, Ben? Do you want to come say?
Sorry, Kit, you have to do it on Facebook, otherwise it doesn't work.
Oh.
Look, I tell you what, Project X I thought was absolutely brilliant. Okay, now, yes, I know Daniel's going to give me the big silent. Really. But I'll tell you what, you know, if these guys only organised it a little bit better, it could have been fantastic. Yeah, we don't want 700 people pitching up at some poor bloke's house that, like, where the hell do you come from, you know?
Yeah.
But if the thing was planned just a little bit better, it could be brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it is such a shame that the one in Baileyborough, it seems, is not being planned properly.
No.
Because that could also be fantastic.
But hang on, Bernard,
Now,
just
and
stop
I'll
for a
tell
minute.
you
What
why.
is planned properly, where you have facilities in place?
Yes,
right?
exactly. But exactly.
And you
Litter collection
and you have
afterwards.
security.
You need the
Safety.
security, big thing there,
Yeah,
yes.
and insurance and public liability. Now, where's all the money for that coming from? Otherwise, we'd be doing it. Otherwise, there'd be local groups organising festivals in Baileyborough.
It's those things which,
whatever.
like from a community forum point of view, you know, when we want to do events, it's those things which strangle events happening.
Well, insurance is strangling everything, isn't it? You can't do anything without insurance. And
But
I think
you
that's
can't
very
do anything
unfortunate.
without any of that. You need the resources to put the security in place, to have the facilities in place, to make sure that people are safe, and we'll be coming on to, the drugs.
Health and safety.
But I think that if people
restriction.
have the initiative to actually be able to pull something off like that.
But they didn't have to pull anything off. All they had to do was put something up on Facebook, go to
But look how successful it was. Look how successful it was. And based on that success,
Bernard, I
you can
agree
take
with
it
you.
one step further. I mean, Daniel, just
I agree with you. It was a successful strategy. The impact it had on the local people and the recklessness with which it was done is completely
But
irresponsible.
what was the impact on the local people? There was one house that had a pub.
700 people making their way on a busy road, on Lavey.
Well,
in
that's
Lavey.
not a problem, is it?
That's not a
I
problem.
think it's a huge problem for
Hey,
health
listen,
and
I tell
safety
you what,
and
you
issues
walk outside town on a Saturday night
Yeah.
at 12 o'clock in
with
the evening.
699
So
other people.
How does that compare?
You better not have the
I mean-
flour if you're worried about
Listen,
that, darling.
I tell you what. You were talking earlier about social impact and how it may have affected this teen that refused to get out of bed. Well, here's the problem. Teens don't have anything to do
Yeah.
around here.
No, I
okay?
agree with you.
And every time somebody tries to do something for them, they bash down. I shouldn't do that here. They bash down.
You're too close to the microphone.
Too close. Sorry, Dave. They bash down by naysayers and you can't do that for this and that and the other reason.
Yeah.
Instead of actually stepping out and saying, yeah, you probably can't, but here, let me try and help you.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
and you're not getting that help.
But this is exactly what we should be doing. Is actually saying, okay, this is what they'd like to do. They want to have festivals.
Well,
they want
yes.
to do something. So we need to be putting in place that sort of activity, or giving them the resources.
Putting a
to put
mechanism in place for them to actually utilise. I mean, one of the
What
kids
are you
actually
doing?
said that they had absolutely
go on.
nothing
No,
to do.
hold
with
on,
it.
hold on.
Listen,
What are you doing, who has a 15-year-old, to organise activities for teenagers?
Thank you, Madeleine.
That's a good question, Madeleine. But what is anybody doing? Do you have children? What have you done for
Okay,
them?
My
Well,
children are
I think-
past that.
I
Yes,
think
but when they were at that stage, what did you do?
We organised activities.
Yeah, for Oiga, I did loads of stuff actually. But anyway, it kind of links into the next story, because the next story is the national story.
Well, actually, we just have a few little snippets also from the Anglo Celt. That's just a quote. It started, we soon gathered when a teenager invited some friends to his house for some drinks. An event was created on Facebook and a nice little night was planned.
There's a few beers.
That's how it started. A few beers, friendly
Anyway.
beers.
That's
And
how it
then
all
Just
starts.
spiraled out of
Yeah.
control
Yes,
through
yes.
Facebook.
Yes.
And then
You know,
there's
and we
the
have some
kids going.
images.
There's the kids on their
And
way.
there's the road. Actually, Bernard, you would probably recognise that. You used to drive on it to your house, I believe.
There's hardly 700 there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those numbers were exaggerated. It was crazy. I mean, I think at one stage it was over 2,000, then it was
Right.
this. And
So anyway, let's move on to our next story.
Because in a sense, what we're talking about is what kids are interested in doing, and clearly gathering together, listening to music, partying is part of it.
Yes.
And that's what happened at the concert in Phoenix Park.
So this was an organised event with
Yeah.
insurance, with
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
Well, my son, my younger son, was there on the Thursday night with some of his friends who were in their 30s.
Yeah.
And they had a great night.
Yeah, I heard
Good,
that.
good.
But it went very well. That was with the Stone Roses, wasn't it? Roses
I'm
of Stone.
I'm
or was it?
afraid
Stone Roses.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know
Roses
who
of
was
Stone.
playing.
Yeah, Stone
But,
Roses, I think it was.
And some of them were family people, but they went and really enjoyed the night.
But
And they
then
had no trouble.
But then the Swedish House Mafia, or whatever they were called, who was playing then on the
Saturday night seemed to be the problem.
seemed to be the problem. But they've played elsewhere in Scandinavia, and there was never
no
any
issue. Yeah.
So we come back to that question about how do you manage? Is it the drinking? Is it the drugs? I mean, how many fatalities came out of that concert? Was it 2 people
I think
died?
it was 2.
Two
It was
people
2 stabbings,
died.
wasn't it?
9
and
people
then 9
stabbed.
people stabbed.
Yeah.
It's
a bit ridiculous.
And but how many people were there?
Yeah.
80,000 people there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the furore on Monday and Tuesday in the press, about how Ireland was collapsing and the whole culture, our civic society falling apart, and TDs calling for this, that, and the other, and the guards calling. But it kind of made me think, oh my God, it did make me think, oh God, what are we coming to, in a sense? But it also made me think, well, hang on, 80,000 people. No, there should never be stabbings like that. But
No. But then, if people are letting youngsters go without any kind of monitoring.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Bruce Springsteen being in Slane,
Yeah.
and I had teenagers,
Yeah.
and we drove them over and dropped them,
Yeah.
and we went back and collected them.
Yeah.
And I remember my son was in boarding school at the time, and I remember my husband, God rest him, queuing in Navan to get the tickets.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, but you see,
but that
lots
was
of
all
people-
being,
Yeah, but that-
carefully done, if you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
But
thing
then-
is, even that Bruce Springsteen
Concert.
Yeah.
concert that was, as you said, so carefully done, had the potential to explode.
Yeah.
You know,
It can explode at
I mean,
any
we
time.
could probably take another day where Bruce Springsteen was performing somewhere else, and there was an incident.
Well, the
So
it's
1980s
not a
Bob
matter
Dylan
of-
concert in Slane, there was a riot at it.
You see, so I mean,
Yeah.
is it nature? Is it our human nature to behave
Yeah.
that way? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So so the temptation is there to blame young people and the breakdown of our fabric of society. We can't just do that. But how can you actually make sure that people are able to go out and enjoy themselves,
Mhm.
Yes.
but also be safe?
Mm.
And I think safety is key. I mean, I remember when we went to the Stones a couple of years ago, we were searched. We weren't allowed to take drink in,
Mm-hmm.
and we were searched for, we just,
Yes.
all
Yeah.
we could go in with was, what we were
Yes.
wearing, really. And the bikinis and welly boots, I tell you needed them. Needed to strip off dance thing. But anyway, and it was fine.
Yes.
It was fine. So
yes.
I do think there is something about security.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the inequality factors. Or,
Yeah.
no, but it brings us on to our next story, which is about
Yeah.
the inequality factors and alcohol reflect in higher suicide rates in rural areas. And this is a claim from CSO. And, maybe there is a social upheaval going on in the last 5 to 10 years. Maybe it's recessional, or maybe it's the Celtic Tiger itself. We lost something, some of our values, some of our, like Madeleine, you were saying earlier, but knowing the difference between good and bad, maybe this is part of it.
I think the
people are
cheap
losing their way a
alcohol
bit.
Cheap
It
alcohol.
is definitely
Mhm.
having an effect.
Yeah.
That people seem to think that, get a few slabs of
Yeah.
drink. It's
And
But-
I think it's also something to do with the immediacy of everything that we
Yes.
have now.
Yes.
I really do think
Yes.
the internet and the games do have an impact.
Mm.
The computer games do have an impact on people because everything you're given straight away, you have a response straight
Mhm.
away.
Yes.
And alcohol serves that purpose as well, So I do think that has something to do with it.
suicide. There are 10 suicides a week in
Yeah.
Ireland.
Yeah.
10
more than
every week.
more than road
It's
deaths.
atrocious.
That
is
when you
atrocious.
break it down like that. By
And
this time next week, there will be 10 more people dead from
And
Well, I'd say there'd be a higher rate of depression in Ireland as well, because I mean, you had a mortgage, and all of a sudden, the house is threatened.
Yeah.
You have to
Mhm.
give the house back. You're not used to, or you don't have the same comfort.
Mhm.
Well,
And-
no,
and,
and you're going to high rate money lenders, aren't you?
That's just
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
We would have known in Vincent de Paul about money lenders that we
Yeah.
would try to impress on people that we visit,
Mhm.
to try an alternative to join in the budgeting that you can do through the post office,
Mhm.
where you pay so much every week.
Yeah.
If you're getting a social welfare payment,
Yeah.
you can have your payments made out to the local authority, if you have a local authority house, to the ESB or your power supplier,
Mhm.
Yeah,
your energy supplier,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
phone bill,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
and to try and build up a liaison with the local credit union.
Yeah. But it's
Now, I got a drop in the door the other day, a pamphlet drop, by a legitimate money lender. And I just checked it online, ring me with the telephone number of the local agent. And I looked it up online. To take 500 euro from them and pay it back over the year. The interest was 56%.
Wow.
56%. And they're licensed money lenders.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I was actually
You
going to
know.
mention the ad that you have on TV with the two Mexican friends, and if you look at the very fine print at the bottom, it's, I think it was 49%.
It's crazy, isn't
Just
it?
going ahead.
And but of course, people. I mean, there was the story during the week, but the people were left over with €20.
Yes,
You know?
yes, when they pay all
What
their
can you do?
bills.
Yeah.
What can, yeah.
But you see, you know, and this is so, this is so attractive for people.
Yeah.
The immediacy of getting this money.
Yeah.
The desperation can cause
Yes,
that unwise
yes,
decision to
yes.
just...
To go for it and then roll over the
Yeah.
loans.
Yeah.
It is hard. So
You know,
I don't know.
it's very difficult.
Yeah.
You know,
But
and
I
that's
think-
also leading
but
to
I think
depression.
the key to this is to speak to the people that you owe money to. Speak to the bank, speak to credit union. You know, they're more than willing to listen to you.
Sometimes, yeah.
But you see that
But
in many
what-
court cases, for example. If
Yeah.
someone owes a huge electricity bill, if they show the effort that they're paying
Yes.
€5 on their bill,
If
the
they
judge
make
will
a
rule
tender,
in
that's
favour.
right.
Yes,
If they
yeah.
make a tender.
And if they keep up their payments.
Yes.
Yes.
We do a lot of negotiating in Vincent Paul on behalf of people who are in arrears.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we negotiate, we may pay some,
Right.
and then, you know, and they
And they
undertake
keep
to
it
pay
up.
so much.
Yeah.
But I think we also have to remember that we can't live the same way we did during the period of Celtic Tiger.
No.
Okay?
No.
Um,
And I don't think we are, Bernard. I mean, we're simply
what the
not
point-
living in the same way.
the point I'm trying to make is that we do need to make changes.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And
Well, we need to improve our lives as well, because that suicide rate, particularly in rural areas where it is so much more costly, and for men who are isolated, we need to address that.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to go for a break. We'll be
Right.
back in 2 minutes.
Welcome back to Cavan TV. You're tuned into Forum Views with myself, Daniel Downey, and Kate Ennells.
That's me.
And we're joined today with Madeleine Mhealoid and Bernard Engle, and we're talking about the local and national news. So what's next?
can you say his second name again?
Mhealoid.
Mhealoid.
Oh, I'm not even going to try.
Okay.
Ni is for the daughter, and E is for the wife.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
UI father, E.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mhealoid.
Excellent.
So we're on our national stories at the moment, actually.
There's a lovely picture there we have. Smiley Riley.
Smiley Riley indeed, and not quite sure how much he's got to smile about. This is the story about, you know, his stakes in the nursing home, which has now gone into debt, and they're under a court order to pay 1.9 billion or something million, and that story is from the Irish Times, and it was saying, you know, obviously he's not being able to pay, but he didn't register it properly, and that he didn't really attempt too well to divest himself of the nursing home interests.
As I understand the story now, I mean, only briefly skimmed over it. There was a group of partners, of which a portion of the partners had the intention of being temporary partners. So they were to take it to a certain stage, at
Yeah.
which stage they'd then sell the shares on to the remaining partners. And O'Reilly was bound by a contract and bound to the rest of the partners. I think there were 5 other partners that remained, selling to the fact that even though he paid, let's say he's 25% that he had to pay, it did not mean that he was now free of obligation. He would only be freed of obligation when the complete contract.
I don't think he paid I don't think he paid his share.
But I think this is his defence that he's bringing forward.
Yeah, but I don't think he even paid his share. Maybe if he, even paid his share, then you could say, okay, well, there's an argument. Lodged his share with the.
I'm almost certain. Now again, I'm speaking under correction, but I'm almost certain that he claims to have paid that, but still can't get out of the contract because he's been.
Because he's part of a partnership.
Because he's part of
No, I don't. I'm not sure that's correct. I mean, I as far as I understood, was that he hadn't paid his share even, but he was trying to get rid of he'd distanced himself by giving him the power of attorney to a solicitor, and that's all he'd done. Right, so he'd done no more, and he didn't register it properly in the register of interests. He didn't register his interests properly.
He had to go back and change.
And he is a minister of health, and he has managed to close down nearly 300 homes, public
nursing homes,
and then
since January, right? So, since last October, I beg your pardon. So 300 have closed down, and he's got interests in a private home. Right, so there is certainly a conflict.
There is a conflict,
definitely,
and it's what irritates me is the way they just
sweep it aside. It's just a
all
matter of propriety only.
Propriety. And what did Enda Kenny say? It was, he's absolved him, didn't he?
Yes.
That his finances were in order. That there was no impropriety. And it's not just impropriety, it's about what's right or wrong. And it comes back to your point, Madeleine, that if even the leaders of our country cannot distinguish between right and wrong and integrity, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the cuts in the nursing homes, we're on to our next story as well. Cuts in the health system. 2% of the 13.4 billion budget. That's quite a hefty cut.
Where are they going to find that?
And they have now said they will not have a supplementary budget. So
it's going to be in one fell swoop.
Huge cuts now for the rest of the year. Because so much of their budget has already been expended and over-expended. We will have more closing down now.
So what's going to happen? I mean, already we've seen in Cavan Hospital, in Cavan General this week, I think it was the day before yesterday, 15 people in trolleys. Lady, what is it in Drogheda? Lady of...
Our Lady of Lourdes.
Lourdes, 35 beds. Elective surgery cancelled in Cavan.
Squeezing at frontline services is not going to work, really.
Rescheduling.
That
all things.
Yeah.
Pushing them out and out and out. Cancelling appointments and rescheduling.
Okay, so what's the answer? You've got to find the money, you've got to make the cuts. You don't want to cut the frontline services because that's already desperate, so you have to cut.
Consultation administration.
Administration, I'd say there's huge money.
And consultants who also are paid very well, but also work in the public hospitals privately. I just find that astonishing. Again, you're back to your right and wrong and integrity there. But so they have to do it. As soon as they do that, you see, presumably, the coalition is going to be a bit dodgy on that because the cuts. And what about Croke Park? They can't do it because of Croke Park. What happens if they break Croke Park?
You could have worse problems.
If they break,
you really could. Yes. I'm afraid they'll have to work within that. Now, Croke Park on the other side. The public servants are saying they've made all the adjustments. But, I think, until we have more natural wastage.
So you just think we have to wait for natural... Well, where are they going to find the 2% cut then? because that's not going to come under natural wastage.
No.
So that's going to come and be made in the hospitals
It
and
is.
the
services.
Yes,
GCSEs.
yes, on the backs
In the
of
cancer
patients.
services, in all those services, where
I think it's
more
going
homes are
to
going to
mostly
close.
it's going to be the rescheduling. It's
Yeah.
going to
It
be
is.
that.
It is a delay of
Yeah.
all the services.
Or
yes.
non-essential operations, for example,
Yes.
will be delayed.
So
I
when
spoke
you're
to
talking
an
about
old-
natural wastage, you're talking about people dying,
Yes.
really?
Yeah, I spoke to an old man before I came in this evening who had been at the day centre in Virginia today, and he said it was kind of cold there today, and he said, "Oh, there's so many cutbacks there." He said there were just 2 people looking after us, and he said there were no sun hats or anything like that today.
Oh,
You know, he
yeah.
was thinking of, you know, when they used to go
Yeah.
in,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
well looked after they were.
Yeah.
And he paid great tribute to the people who were looking after
Yeah.
them, but
Yeah.
how much work they now had to do
Yeah.
because of the cutbacks.
Well, it's going to cause death. It's going to
Yes.
cause death, and and that will bring people out onto the streets eventually.
And this,
as
for
well.
living alone, helps people to be
Yeah.
retained in their own home, where it is much less expensive
Mm.
to keep them
Yeah.
than to have them in
But-
care.
Yes, I agree. But on the other hand, you put people in their own home without the supports needed. That's dreadful.
It is.
Mhm.
It
You
is.
know,
it
and
is,
that's what's
yes.
going to happen.
And
People are going to be
yes,
shoved back.
The
into their
carers'
homes
hours
and
are
the-
being cut
yeah.
back.
That's the worst part of all. Carers' hours being cut.
Yes.
I feel, and especially home carers.
Yes.
That's
what I'm talking
criminal,
about. It
absolutely
is.
criminal.
It
That
is. It
people
is.
should be expected to consider their home to be a prison that they're just
Yes.
isolated
Yeah.
in.
Yes.
So,
Well, talking about criminal, we're going to have to move on to the major story yesterday
Michaela
and today
McAreevy,
of the trial of Michaela
so
McAreevy.
2 hotel workers were cleared of murder charges.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Well, I think because of the bad police work.
Yeah,
yeah.
that sounds
That's
like
That's
it.
how
really-
it seems to be.
You
Yeah.
know,
I was going to
that
say
it
it is definitely not an episode from
Yeah.
Miami NSCI or NCIS whatever
Yeah.
you know. Apparently they made a proper balls up of the
Sloppy
investigation.
seems to be
Sloppy,
the word.
yes, that
yeah.
would be it. Yes.
Yes.
We've got a picture up here, the pictures from the Times, the Irish Times, I think, of the obvious
Yes.
joy
Yeah.
for the 2 fellas who
Yes.
had been
Yes.
arrested on the basis apparently of no evidence whatsoever. They'd been tortured, they'd been brutalised into
Well,
confessing.
now that's questionable, but you know, because of sloppy police work, it wasn't safe to find them.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
I was surprised. Enda Kenny came out this evening and sympathised with the McAreevy Hart
Well,
family
you'd have to.
Yeah.
because he said justice was not done. Now, I felt that was it going a little bit too far.
Mm-hmm.
I would,
Well, we don't know really.
you
do
know,
we?
that
But
yeah,
that's
you
casting a
can't
judgment
judge.
on a law of court in
They
another
didn't.
country.
They didn't get justice, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the same time, you couldn't say that the trial had,
Yeah.
Yeah.
wasn't
Well,
lasting
it was
justice
messy
as
though,
it was
wasn't it?
presented in court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was messy.
It was.
I
Yeah.
mean,
It
it
was-
was very
didn't
badly.
Yeah.
prosecution's witness eventually break down and say that he was actually in another room
Yeah.
cleaning with
Yeah.
one of the defendants?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And
that
whole
somewhat
thing
blew
about-
that out
yeah.
the
And
water.
then that whole thing about the video.
Yeah.
You know, where they said it was Michaela and.
Although no,
Sean,
that
yes.
That
we
was-
got that mixed up. That the video actually was from
Another
the
couple.
defense.
Yeah.
Was from the defense saying that the McAreevy's
Oh,
were
that's
actually
right.
in an argument
Yes.
and they had the
But
video
it
to
was,
show
it
it.
was a German
But it
couple.
ended up it was a
Yeah.
German couple,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So from the defense part, they
Yeah.
made a mistake with that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But again, from the
But
prosecutor's part,
But it's just everything was so messy.
it was
you
very
know?
messy. It was.
It was very poorly done.
Yeah.
Very
And
poorly done.
the
They
ma-
didn't-
let's
they
hope
didn't-
that our guards look at that
Yes.
themselves
Mm-hmm.
and learn. I mean, police forces
Mm.
from around the Western Europe could look at that and learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
not
Okay,
to do it.
so we're going to move on because there's not much more we can say about that
No.
except send sympathies, obviously. Yesterday was the 12th of July.
And unfortunately, it didn't go by peacefully. Someday in my lifetime, I hope celebrations in Northern Ireland will go by in a festival atmosphere. But there was attacks on the PSNI during a parade. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
there was, in where was
Ardoyne, I think it was.
in Ardoyne.
Mhm.
The other one went off peacefully enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say there's more going off peacefully now
Yeah.
than there have
Yeah,
been
of
before?
course.
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely
yes,
we're making
yes.
progress.
so we are making
Yes.
progress, and that's
Yeah.
a great thing right there.
I-
you know?
Yes, yes.
I think
but,
so.
I think some of the dissidents are still
Um,
using it as an occasion for
Yeah.
violence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but you're always going to have a little bit of that in this kind of difficult situation. You know.
But thankfully we're moving ahead now.
Yeah.
There's less and less each year.
yeah.
Yes.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Yes. Please God.
Okay.
So also troops on standby in London for the Olympics. Kate, this was one that you had chosen specifically because you're heading to London.
I know.
Um,
I mean, I just feel so sorry for the Londoners in a sense. You know, there's those flats in
Yeah.
the East End that have got their missile defenders on their roofs. You know,
It's incredible.
and now it seems that they haven't got the security sorted in London. So you're going to have the troops on the street, and I just kind of think, you know, I'm going to go. It'll be a bit like being in Belfast in the
Yes,
70s
yes,
and 80s.
yes.
That you're going to be in London and there's going to be soldiers with guns, and it's just so, you know, our policemen don't even have guns, you know, and it's just going to be such a remarkable thing for me to see. I find it quite scary, all for the Olympics, and it
Yes,
takes it all
yes.
to a.
Is
to
it
that
worth
note. Do you know
inviting
what
the
it
Olympics
is?
into London? That you're inviting a sense of fear into your city, though.
Well,
That's-
partly. I mean, but this is just—it's that whole media thing again, isn't it?
Yes,
Everything.
yes.
The Olympics is everything. It's going to bring in loads of money. That's the most important thing. We haven't heard much about the sports of it at all. So that's why I wanted to bring it in, because I was I don't know.
But I think in
Well,
today's
so-
day and age, you know, you have any big event, and you're inviting temptation for terrorists. You know, it's
I know.
kind of become their social media. Yes,
Well,
we
maybe
have an
we should
Olympics,
just
let's
take
blow it
the
up and we'll
risk.
promote our cause.
Yeah.
Well, not really.
Look, let's end on a happy story here. We have Jerry McCulloch, Cavan's most charismatic postman, retired, and it was one that we wanted to finish on because Cavan TV covered it. He's a real character around the town,
Yeah.
and I think we might have a small clip that we'll be back after this one. Hopefully the guys have a little clip here for us.
Yeah. Here we go.
Cavan TV put this together for the event.
I love.
Fantastic, absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic.
So
Yes,
well
yes.
done, Jerry, and enjoy yourself in your retirement.
Yeah.
There's loads of community gardens for you to go
And
and
speaking
play
of
with.
enjoying yourselves, folks, what are you up to this weekend?
Well, I
Jeremy?
want to wish Cavan the very best in their football
And I see you're wearing the
encounter
Cavan colours to
Yeah.
wish them. Excellent.
with Kildare.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
You know, I'm delighted that there is a back door
Mhm.
that they can now have a second chance at
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and they did very well against Fermanagh.
Yeah.
Long ago, when there was only one chance at it,
Yeah.
coming up from Breffni Park,
Yeah.
Mhm.
one not so young fellow was
Okay.
heard to say to another,
Mhm.
"What are we going to do for the summer? We may get women."
Okay, I just quickly want to mention a charity show though,
Okay.
at the Kilmore next Thursday, which is in favour of Irish Cancer Society.
Excellent. Excellent.
With all these shops contributing. Bernard,
Brilliant.
what are you up to?
Well, I thought I'd start off the weekend by popping around the community garden. They have a fence that can be fixed.
Okay.
So please, guys, if you know where it is, pop in. We'd love you to be there,
Yeah.
okay? Light hands, many hands light work. That's
Very
it,
Very
guys.
good. Very good.
I was then
And
thinking
then you're
that
going to
maybe...
have to finish there.
We're
Bernard.
at 8 o'clock.
We're out. You can't do any more.
So come to the garden, folks. So that's all from Forum Views on Cavan TV. Thank you to our guests.
Yeah, it's lovely
Thank you for
having you.
tuning in.
Great being here.
Thank you to the Anglo, Celt and the Irish Times for providing the excellent stories and coverage.
And to David and Brian.
And to David and Brian for
The Back
covering us.
Boys.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
So, folks, tune in to us next week and we'll be back then. Bye.
Bye.